Hey, what's up guys? Jerry here, aka Barnacules, and today I'm finally going to be reviewing the keyboard I've been using for the last 3 months. And if you guys have been watching me on Twitch TV/Barnacules on my morning coffee live stream, you've probably asked me about it and have seen the keyboard on stream multiple times. Well, the keyboard that I'm talking about is the KinesisGaming Freestyle Edge. Now, this looks like a pretty small box for a keyboard, and the reason for that is the keyboard is actually in two pieces. It is quite literally a keyboard split right down the middle. And the best part is it's a split keyboard that has mechanical keys. Now, there are some other keyboards on the market that are similar, like the ErgoDox, for instance, but the problem with the ErgoDox is it has a very proprietary layout to the keys, whereas this is literally a bifurcated keyboard.
Yeah, I said bifurcated.
It's kind of a big word for me, isn't it? Now, if Kinesis sounds familiar, that's probably because you've seen this keyboard before. This is the Kinesis Advantage Pro. Looks like it belongs on the Starship Enterprise bridge, and it's got these two dished keys in here. They're not mechanical keys, they're membrane-based keys. Now, these are really handy to people that have carpal tunnel syndrome and stuff like that, but I have to be honest, I was never able to type with any kind of speed on this thing, and I never could get used to it because of the strange key layout. However, I feel like KinesisGaming actually listened to me when they created this keyboard because it's pretty much everything that I wanted in a keyboard, hence the reason why it's been sitting on my desk for the last 3 months. Now, we're going to talk about the pros, we're going to talk about cons on both sides of the fence, and I'm going to show you guys why this is my new favorite keyboard. Alright, so here we have the keyboard on my desk. Now, I've been using it, like I said, for 3 months, and I have a couple of options installed on the keyboard that you have to buy extra. Now, one of my complaints about the keyboard is that you do have to buy the wrist rests and the risers that allow you to change the angle of the keyboard as separate add-ons, and I think, honestly, they need to come with the keyboard because without those things, the keyboard just lays completely flat on the desk, and you can't even arc it up at a normal angle like you would a regular keyboard. And they come in a box that looks just like this. It's just called the Lift Kit. Also, I'm going to have everything linked down in the video description along with a 15% off discount code using code Barnacules. So guys, make sure that you use that code when you buy the keyboard. It's going to save you a fair amount of money, and this is not a cheap keyboard. All right, before we start using the keyboard, let's talk about a couple of the features. One that you'll notice is that it's actually backlit, and it's backlit with a very bright blue LED. I've actually got the brightness turned down right now, but I'll show you later on what it's like at full brightness in the software. You also have macro keys here on the side, and this particular board has the Cherry MX blue switches, but you can get them in red, blue, or browns. I prefer the blues. They're much more clicky. I like a clicky keyboard. Now, of course, the biggest feature of this keyboard is the fact that it's split. You can move the pieces apart. But one of the big benefits of this is because it's like a standard keyboard, if you push the two halves together, it feels very much like a normal keyboard. You will notice, however, though, if you're not used to typing using the home key method or being a touch typist, it is going to give you a little bit of a problem if you cross over. Now, I found out after getting this keyboard that I cross over with this hand quite a bit, and it took me about a week to train it out, but once I did, I actually was able to type faster. And then, of course, as you get better and better, you just move the keyboard further and further and further and further apart and get it at just the angle you want to make it comfortable. Now, when I type, I like to keep a little bit of an angle out, and just like that is my optimal place, because then my shoulders just kind of slouch in, and it's very, very comfortable. Even with them pushed all together, I noticed a huge improvement in how much pain I held in my shoulders from the pressure, because even just this little bit of a gap right here makes all the difference. And plus you have a space bar on either side, which with keyboards like ErgoDox and stuff like that, it's really weird layout, and you just can't get used to it. And then once you do get used to it, going back to like a laptop keyboard sucks. Now, like I said before, I've been using this keyboard for 3 months. I wanted to share this keyboard with you a long time ago, and I did to some extent through the live stream, but because it wasn't available, I didn't want to do a review video because everybody'd ask where they could get one, and of course I'd have to tell them they'd have to wait. Now, once you work at it and you start really spreading the keyboard out, you can see you can get quite the gap between the two pieces here. And then you can also extend that gap by flipping over this piece right here. You'll see there's a little access door, and when you open that up, you can actually pay out more cable. So you can drop it down if you want to pay out another couple of inches. Now you can see if you pay out the entire cable, you can get these things way away from each other, leaving almost the entire pad between them on the desk. Now, I will tell you, the further apart that you get them, the harder it is to type at first. But if you gradually move yourself out and you get used to it, it's actually easy and your brain just catches right on. Now, I was telling you about the stands that you want to get for it. Well, the stands just snap right onto the back, and they can actually go on backwards. So pay good attention when you're putting them on that they're pointing in the right direction. Otherwise, you'll wonder why the keyboard keeps collapsing on your desk when you put the weight of your hands on it. The other thing is in order to install the lift kit, you have to have the wrist rest, which is another add-on. So I'm telling you right now, if you order this keyboard, make sure you get the wrist rest add-on and you get the riser stand. And my 15% off coupon applies to the entire order, so you'll also get 15% off on those. But I'll tell you right now, I tried to use the keyboard without the lift on it and without the wrist rest, and it's a completely different experience. I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. But with the wrist rest and the riser, it's awesome. But now you got some options. Like, for instance, if you want to make yourself more comfortable and you want to be able to turn your wrists out, because you'll find that it's much more comfortable typing with your wrists out like this, you can actually bring the riser up into 3 different positions. You can do it like that, which I believe is like 10 degrees. You can bring it up a little bit more, like this, and then that's about double. And then if you want to go all the way up, you lift it like this. So you can transition very, very quickly between these modes. And then you can see, if you put them on the right way, they don't collapse when you push down on them. Now, typing with the keyboard at its highest angle like this is actually pretty comfortable, but I found for me personally, I like to drop it down to where it's just 10 degrees, and that seems to be my sweet spot, where I'm most comfortable. But having the ability to position these at any angle that you want is actually really remarkable. And I have to say, I'm kind of surprised that there isn't like a ton of other keyboards like this on the market, because it just seems very, very intuitive, especially for people that are familiar with just touch typing and not having to look at the keyboard. And there's another big plus to having a keyboard like this, and it's going to force you to type the right way. Like I said, I tend to carry over this hand to push things like the ampersand before, and after using this keyboard for a week, I now use the shift ampersand the proper way, using this hand, so it's definitely balanced out how I type, and I've been typing for years, guys. But I had absolutely none of the same problems learning how to use this keyboard as I did with the Advantage Pro, which was that weird, crazy keyboard that I showed you before. Now, the second biggest feature on this keyboard, aside from being a split keyboard, is the functionality of it. It's hugely programmable. You can literally remap any key on the keyboard to any other key, and you can actually do it in real time just by pushing the remap button here. You can push one key and push another key, and it'll basically swap the functionality that fast. Or you can also do it in software, which I'm going to show you here in a little bit, and it's really cool how you access the software on this. You don't have to download anything. You can also turn the LEDs on and off by just pushing this button. Makes it really easy to light them up, put them away, light them up, put them away. And the best part is you can even remap that key if you want to, and instead of having to turn the LEDs on and off, you can have it do other things. Now, if you want to see the status of the keyboard, know which layout is loaded, which set of configuration options are loaded, it's very easy. Just open up something like Notepad, and you just hold down the little function key up here at the top of the keyboard, and you press F7, which is the status key. And it prints out right to the screen. You can see right now it's running the 1.0 firmware. It's running layout1.txt. It just stores all the layouts as text files. Now I want to take a minute to talk about 2 of the complaints before going forward that I have with this keyboard. Neither one of them is a deal breaker, even in the slightest. But the number one thing is you'll notice there's no caps lock LED. When I push the caps lock, nothing lights up to indicate that the caps lock is on or off. Well, this isn't that big of a deal because in Windows 10 now, it'll actually tell you if the caps lock is on or off on screen, so you really don't need the LED, but I'll tell you why I liked having the LED. And that was you could always tell if the computer was physically froze up when nothing was moving on the screen. If you hit the caps lock and the LED would come off and turn off, because that meant that the BIOS was still responsive. So I do kind of miss that, if I'm honest. Now, the other problem that I wish that they had have addressed was the escape key. You'll notice that the escape key is this giant key up here in the frickin' corner of the keyboard. It should be about where the F1 is or slightly off from the F1 key. So I find that sometimes when I go for escape, I hit F1. Now, after about a week of using it, I trained that out and it doesn't happen anymore. Now I know where the escape key is. But unfortunately, now when I move over to other keyboards, like on my laptop and stuff like that, I'll tend to overshoot reaching for the escape key. Again, it's not that big of a deal. You train it out really, really quickly, but I really hope that on the future version of this keyboard in Kinesis, you better make another one, because this is absolutely a home run. You guys know I've reviewed a ton of keyboards. Go look at all my other keyboard reviews. I've reviewed the WASD keyboards, the Code keyboards, lots of the mechanical keyboards, the DOS keyboards, everything. Out of every keyboard that I've used, including the Corsair K95 RGB, which I was quite partial to, this is my new favorite keyboard. I will take all of the faults with it happily because the pros just outweigh everything. Now, since there are a lot of hotkeys and stuff on this, it's handy that they put the instructions right on the back. On this sticker right here, it tells you exactly which keys to push to change the status, to change the reset the options, how to get into the application on it, to configure it on PC. Everything's right there on the back of the keyboard, so you don't have to worry about keeping a manual around, because I always lose manuals, so you don't have to worry about that in this instance. All right, so now it's time to show you the badass feature of this keyboard. The feature that I love the absolute most and defines the entire keyboard, outside of it being a split mechanical keyboard, and that is the V drive. All you do is hold down the little button up here for the system, and you hit F8, which is V drive. And then shortly after doing that, you're going to hear the computer go dun, dun, dun,
USB sound.
And then you're going to see this pop up on the screen. This is the FS Edge drive that automatically mounts. It basically is the equivalent of putting a USB drive on the computer. And you'll see inside of here, there is a Smart Set application. The firmware, the help documents, the settings, the layouts, all this information is stored is plain text on the drive on the keyboard. You can come in here and you can see the macro that I have defined here and all of the menu keys that I applied to the macros. And you can actually come into the text file and edit these so you can quickly swap layouts in and out, or you can completely swap out the layouts and reset the keyboard like instantaneously. I love that they didn't do anything proprietary. It's all plain text. But if you're not a hardcore hacker and you don't like digging around the actual text files, you can run their applications. So we're just started up. It's Smart Set app. And when you open up, it gives you an introduction. It gives you some tips. That to program, first select the keys by clicking the keyboard image. There's a tutorial video that you can watch that's actually really good. I highly recommend watching the tutorial video because the software is really good, but it's not that intuitive. However, I will say it's much more intuitive than the Corsair software I used on my old keyboard. All right, so let me give you just a tiny little demo here of what you can do with the Smart Set application. First of all, you can actually load and change the layouts. You have layout 1 through 8, which these are all different layouts that you can create. Each of the layouts can have multiple layers, and you can even create a backup layout so that if you somehow hose the keyboard, because trust me, you could, because you could swap around all the keys to where you wouldn't know what key was what. If in that case that you screwed up, you can go back to the backup layout and restore it back to default. Or in the worst case scenario, you just basically hit the little system key in F12 and it resets it to factory default. So right now we'll just select layout 1. Now inside of layout 1, you can see I've already assigned some hotkeys. You literally just click on the key and you assign an action. You can either type stuff in down here. Like for instance, I just typed, "This is a test of the macro system" inside the keyboard, followed by enter. And to show you how easy it is, you just type and it remembers everything you do, even the special keys that you type. Like even if I do like plus and minus, if I hit the F keys, it'll remember. So if you make a mistake, you need to make sure that you actually go down and use the backspace and clear keys down here at the bottom of the bar, because if you just type them on the keyboard, it's going to put them into the macro. So for this macro, let's just say we want to type, "This is a test." Oh, see, I already made a mistake, so I'm going to just backspace that out. "This is a test of the keyboard functionality." There we go. And then I can even do enter. So I want it to go to the new line. Okay. Now I can come over here and I can change the playback speed of it. How fast I want it to play back when I push that button. Or I can say to play the macro multiple times. So let's say I want the macro to play 8 times, right? When I push the key. Now I'm going to come down. I'm going to push done. Now this is where things get a little bit weird with this keyboard. Now I hit save, but if I come over and push that button right now, let's go ahead and open up a notepad. If I push that new button that we just assigned, you'll see that it's still typing the old message, not the new message that we just put in there. It's still remembering the old macro. This is another little weird quirk of the keyboard, and it took me a little while to figure it out. And that is, the keyboard doesn't load the configuration until you unmount the V drive. So even though I made all those changes in here, like here, I'll even change the lighting. I'll put the lighting to max, okay? And then I'm gonna click save in the application. You'll notice the lighting didn't change. The lighting on the keyboard didn't change at all. I can go up, I can go down, I can click save, and the lighting doesn't change. Well, this was confusing me before because I was like, oh, I don't understand this. Why is this not working in real time? Well, the reason being is all the application is doing is updating those text files. And then when you unmount the drive from the keyboard, it reads those text files back in again and then updates it. Let me give you just a little example here. You'll see here's the old macro that was typed in there. And I can still just keep pushing that button and it'll keep typing the old macro that was there. Now, if I come up here and I close the software, so let's come up here and just click the X and close the software, you'll notice that it's still the wrong macro. And when I first encountered this, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I couldn't make the connection. It's literally, you just unmount it. You hold down the system set key and you hit V drive, or you can also just do a reload. But let's close down. Now it's gonna unmount the drive. Okay, so now the drive's unmounted. Now we push our key, and now we get the new macro functionality. You see that? I told it to repeat 8 times. So every time I push it, it's gonna repeat 8 times. But I have to say, I really hope that they do update the software at some point to actually make it a little bit more intuitive and actually pop up on the screen and say, your macros will not be loaded until you unmount it. And I wish they even had a button on there that would automatically send the keystroke to unmount the keyboard when you exit the software. Another thing I noticed is sometimes the application can take a couple of seconds to load. It's strange. Sometimes it opens instantaneously. Sometimes it can take 5 or 10 seconds. I don't really know why that is though. Now I'm going to show you another macro I like, and that is the delete all macro. I find in a lot of cases when I select a text field, I like to do Control A for select everything and then delete. Well, I can come over here and just create the macro key. I'm just going to make this my Control Delete, so let's clear it. All I'm going to do is Control A, like that, and then delete. And that's my universal. Now I'm going to click done, except for I only want it to repeat once, so I'm going to put it down to 1, and I want it to play back at full speed. So I'm going to go ahead and click done now, and I'm going to save my configuration saved. Now I just got to close the software, save my changes again, that's fine. It just asks you every time you exit. Now I'm going to go ahead and unmount the keyboard, because remember that reloads the configuration. And now my special key, if I push it, should select everything in this field and delete it. And it does. So now I have a way to just with one keystroke be able to select everything and delete it. Now, alternatively, I don't even have to open the software if I want to do that. Let's go ahead and map it to function key 5. Let's make function key 5 do the same thing. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the macro button up here at the top of the keyboard. Now it's going to start flashing. Now I'm going to push the key that I want to assign the macro, which is 5. And now that I've selected that key, I'm going to do Control A and then delete. And then I'm going to push macro again. And now the macro is saved. So now, same as before, I'm going to just type some stuff in. Now if I push macro 5, same thing. And if I open up the software, the macros will look identical. Now, if you don't want to see the notification every time you open the software, you can just click hide this notification and push continue, and it will remember on the physical keyboard, which is another thing I like. It's not storing all this stuff in the registry under Windows. It's storing it in text files on the keyboard. So if I unplug this keyboard and plug it into another system or plug it into my laptop or my other machine, like when I went to PDX land, it remembers all my macros and all my layouts. So let's say that I want to have our macro here that does Control A delete. Let's make it do something completely different, like maybe undo everything with Control Z using the same key, but just with function pressed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, I'm going to change the layer to the function key. We're going to select it. We're going to come down here and do Control Z, and then I'm going to click done. And now what's going to happen is between the two layers, you'll see here, this will select everything and delete it. And then if we go from the top layer to the function key layer, you'll see now that it's left Control and Z. Now, if I click this and save it, now that one key with the function will undo, and with the other one, it'll delete everything. Let me show you. So let me go ahead and click done. We're going to close it out. Now remember, you always want to unmount the drive. So just hold down the little system key and do V drive, F8. That's going to unmount it. It's going to disappear. And now we're going to go ahead and open up our notepad. We're going to type some stuff in. And now if I push that key, it's going to delete everything. It's going to do a Control A delete. But if I hold down the function key and I press it, it's going to bring everything back. See that? All right, let's go ahead and crank the brightness all the way to maximum. You can also do a breathe mode. And if you do the breathe mode, it'll just gradually get brighter and then dim down and brighter and dim down. I hope that in future versions they add in other effects. It'd be cool to have some rolling color changes and stuff like that, and maybe a wave or a pulse across the keyboard. I think that'd be really cool. All right, so now that we got it back to max, I'm going to go ahead and just push save. Okay, let's go ahead and close it out. Now, as soon as I unmount the drive, you're going to see the LEDs are going to come on full brightness. And there they are. And you guys can see that is massively bright. I hope the camera's doing this justice because I have so much auxiliary lighting on in the room right now. All right, so now that I've shown you just a couple of things that I like about the keyboard, let me tell you about some of the stats on the keyboard, because I know there's probably a bunch of you stats guys out there that would love to know what the stats are and what the hell they mean. So first of all, you can get a maximum of a 20-inch split between the keypads, so you can move them really far apart. Now, you might be asking, what is the benefit of that, of getting them so far apart? Because most people aren't going to want to type like that. Well, if you're in a gaming chair, or you're on a racing simulator or something like that, it allows you to separate the keypad out between both sides of the simulator so that your legs can run between, or if you're doing like a flight simulator or something like that, you can put your stick right in the middle of the keyboard. Like for instance, when I do my morning coffee live stream every day, I take my microphone right here and I put it right in between the keyboard, and it's actually very comfortable for me because I have a studio mic right here in my face. I have both sides of the keyboard. It's very easy to type, and I've got my mouse off to the side. The other thing that's really nice is that when I'm gaming, I can actually take one side of the keyboard and just move it up on the desk, and now I have this entire mousing surface here just for the mouse. Just having that much freedom in the layout of the keyboard is very impressive. And again, let's not forget, they didn't try to do the whole ErgoDox thing where they tried to put all multiple thumb buttons and try to change the layout and make it all super space age. This is just a keyboard cut down the center. So now I've got my microphone right in front of me. I got my two keypads right here. It's just very symmetrical. If you have OCD like me, it actually makes things very, very nice. I hate having the keyboard all offset or the microphone, or having to put the microphone on the other side of the keyboard so it's further away from your face and then it doesn't sound as good. These broadcast microphones always sound good when they're right up in your face. And because I can have it on a simple desk stand, it's very easy to put away, and I don't have it floating around on an arm that I have to shove out of the way. Now, in addition to the 20-inch cable that allows you to put this in any number of different configurations, now for you hardcore MLG gamer types out there, it does have a 1 ms response time. So the thing is blazingly fast, connected to USB 2.0 or 3.0, works fine on both. I tried it. And you get that incredibly fast speed. Also, as you would expect from a modern keyboard, it's 100% anti-ghosting, and it supports N-key rollover. And the thing is, you can actually enable and disable N-key rollover so that it doesn't mess up with things on old computers like old BIOSes and stuff that have problems with that. With the Smart Set key, you have all of the multimedia keys mapped, and you can even remap them if you want, but the default, move to next track, volume up, volume down, all that stuff that people are used to having on a keyboard, it's all there. You also have the obligatory game mode so that if you're a gamer, you can disable that Windows key so you stop accidentally opening the desktop and opening the start menu in the middle of your game. That's kind of a requirement. Now, if I had my way, I would have rather had a detachable USB cable, but I'm glad that because it's not detachable, they made it such a heavy grade paracord that even your cat's going to have trouble chewing through it, unless your cat's as much of a dick as mine. then it'll probably succeed. Now, the keyboard also gives you 9 different layouts. So in the software where I showed you how you could go through and configure everything, you can do that for 9 completely different layouts that you can access just by using the layout key in tandem with 1 through 9. And in addition to the 7 different layouts, you also have layers that can change it based on the function key being pressed or not. And you have 3 different states for the macro keys. So all in all, you can pretty much get every single key on this keyboard to do something 3 times over. And as you'd expect for a keyboard that's this price, it's very heavy duty. You pick it up, it feels substantial. The plastics that they use don't feel cheap or creaky at all. It is a very, very solid and even weighty keyboard to some extent. And after using it for 3 months, it doesn't look like it's got any rub marks that are noticeable on any of the space bars. The pads on the wrist rest don't look like they've been heavily or overworn. It doesn't look like the finish on the keyboard's failing, and I've had keyboards do that, even really expensive keyboards before, where just after a month of use, regular use, the keys started rubbing off, the edges, the paint started rubbing off. The durability on here is really cool. And another thing I like about Kinesis, they're literally in my backyard. They're near Seattle, Washington. I'm near Seattle, Washington. I still haven't been to their headquarters, but I want to go down and check it out sometime because I really love local businesses. So guys, it goes without saying that I absolutely love this keyboard. I absolutely stand behind this keyboard. I think that it's one of those things that, just like with your chair, like my DX Racer that I have right here, it is a premium item that you want to spend a significant amount of money on because you have to live with it for a long time. And your keyboard is your gateway to the computer. Your keyboard and your mouse are the peripherals that you want to spend the most money on because the comfort and the speed that you can achieve with those peripherals are going to directly impact your entire experience and everything else that you do. Also, the ergonomics of the keyboard are undeniable. I've noticed immediately after 1 week of use of this keyboard that I had a lot less fatigue in my shoulders and in my elbows. I didn't even notice how much that typing was actually affecting me, and my posture was affecting me, because now I can actually move these around depending on how I'm feeling. If I have sore shoulders, I can actually bring them up at a little bit of a steeper angle like this, and you can transition between all the angles very, very quickly. And I can even lean back on my padded armrests that you see right here, that I have. These little pads are cool. I'll even link those in the description if you want. But I can kick back, I can lean back, and I can do the Eric Cartman thing, right? I can get back here, I can rotate out the keyboard nice like this, and I can come in at a nice angle, and I'm super duper comfortable. But at the end of the day, all specs aside, what really matters the most is how comfortable and how fast can you type on the keyboard. So we're going to go ahead and open up some Z-Type and play around, and I'm going to show you guys why I love this keyboard so much. Now, when I test a keyboard, I like to use Z-Type by Phobos Labs. It's a great game online. I'll have a link to it down in the video description. It's a lot of fun, and it actually really helps you to get used to a new keyboard when you get it, because you're constantly having to react very, very quickly to changing words. Now, you can see the object of the game is words just come down from the top of the screen. So we're just going to go ahead and just type those words, just like so. And we can change up the keyboard layout as we go along if we want to. So like air and sharp and 1 and memory. But as you can see, I can type on it, no problem. If you're used to a standard keyboard layout, you're not going to have any problems adapting. As a matter of fact, if you're used to typing using the home key method, like I said before, and you're a touch typist, honestly, you're probably not going to see any kind of speed drop move into this. The only key that I've had a problem with, like I said, is the escape key. Win via all junk. And you get used to that really quick also. Another thing is this keyboard is a hell of a conversation piece, man. Everybody that's seen it, especially when I go to LAN parties, look at it like, what the hell is that, man? It is a great conversation piece. And you survive, bad indication, head, pile, think, noisy, generation, thanks, returning, justify, fully, lend, pure, cope, varies, and distinction. So if there's any question as to whether you type now I'll be honest, on a regular conventional keyboard, depending on the keyboard and the sitting stance, I can actually sometimes type a little bit faster than even this. But it's mainly because I go back to my old ways. And my old ways are where I just keep continuously pushing on the wrong buttons with the wrong fingers. Again, this trains you out of that. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention there. Whew. His, exist, prone, ring, hopes. Oops. And we're out. Boom! That's how I made it to wave. I usually make it between wave 20 and wave 23. Plus my accuracy was a little bit low, but that was because I kept getting stuck on the wrong word. In Z-Type, if you hit the wrong word, then you end up typing a bunch of things thinking you're typing another word, and that screws with your accuracy. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. So guys, I think it's safe to say I absolutely love the Freestyle Edge. I think KinesisGaming did an amazing job on it. I didn't have very good luck with their old keyboard because it was just too weird. And this one is just the right amount of weird. And having that split keyboard functionality completely changed how I utilize my desktop, and it didn't really impact my typing performance. As a matter of fact, it made me a better typist because it forced me to use my right hand the right way.
Ladies.
So if you guys have any further questions about the keyboard, please leave them down in the comment or come over and tweet me on Twitter. It's my most active social network. I'm at Barnacules over there. And of course, come over and check out my morning program where I use this thing every single day to its full capability on that show. It's Twitch TV/Barnacules, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time daily. I would love to see you guys there. And if you guys would like to pick up one of my new shirts, this is my new AMD fanboy shirt because NVIDIA is too expensive. That is available on shop.barnerd.com. And again, the link is in the video description for the keyboard and the discount, the 15% discount, because when you look at the price, you might get a little bit of sticker shock, but with the discount, it actually helps out quite a bit. And make sure, guys, that you pick up the wrist rests and the stand kit. Where's that box? Right here. You want that. You want the stand kit and the wrist rest. So make sure you get the wrist rest because if you don't, the lift kit does not fit on it, okay? Also, guys, please do everything you can to support net neutrality. We need net neutrality to stay around because if net neutrality goes away, you might be having to pay Comcast or Time Warner or whoever your internet provider is an extra $5 or $10 a month just to be able to watch YouTube videos because we already know from experience that the ISPs get incredibly greedy and they already have monopolies over most of their jurisdictions. So us as consumers don't have the choice to pick any competitors because they've already snuffed them out. Hence the monopoly. So guys, we got to contact our congressmen, we got to contact our senators, we got to yell at Ajit Pai all we can and Trump all we can on Twitter and say, don't support this. We're not gonna renew you guys. We're not gonna hire you back to be our representatives if you keep letting teleco companies get in your pocket and screw us over. All right, I love you guys. Until next time. Seriously though, KinesisGaming, you hit a home run with this. Home run. Oh, and let's not forget the official game of Barnacules Nerdgasm Quick Splat Barnacules is available on Android and iOS today. It's free to play, and the top 5 scores get read daily on Twitch TV/Barnacules on my morning coffee program. Guys, play it. It's a lot of fun. And you get to smash my face. How much fun is that? Ooh, golden Barnacules. Yeah, baby. Oh, I hit a troll. It's fun, guys. Give it a try.